Alonso names key factors that made him stay at Aston. Carlos only has 2 realistic options left, and Red Bull drama could make the silly season exciting. Spanish racing driver Fernando Alonso is all set to reunite with Honda in 2026, marking a new chapter in his relationship with the Japanese automaker. Alonso had previously been associated with Honda during his ill-fated stint with McLaren from 2015 to 2017, which was marked by a lack of harmony between the two parties. Despite Honda's current domination in Formula One with Red Bull and their numerous titles and victories with the Milton Keynes-based squad, the partnership between Honda and McLaren was unable to deliver consistent results, with both performance and reliability being major issues. Alonso, along with his McLaren teammates Jenson Button and Stoffel Van Dorn, frequently had to deal with huge grid penalties due to the underperforming Honda power unit. In fact, Alonso famously exclaimed, "GP2 engine," during the Japanese Grand Prix in 2015, when he was overtaken for the 10th position. This public criticism did not go down well with the Japanese company, which also withdrew from powering Alonso's IndyCar entry in 2020, citing the Spaniard's relationship with Toyota in the World Endurance Championship. However, 7 years after the end of his last association with Honda, Alonso has signed a new long-term deal with Aston Martin, which will be powered by Honda from the start of the new regulation cycle in 2026. In an interview with the media, Alonso expressed his admiration for Honda's recent achievements and confirmed that the partnership between Honda and Aston Martin was one of the factors that motivated him to sign with the Silverstone-based team. The statement talks about Alonso's admiration for Japanese culture and their level of discipline and commitment, which is reflected in the Honda brand. Alonso has worked with Toyota in the Endurance Championship and is familiar with their level of discipline too. In the context of the upcoming 2026 regulations, Alonso believes that Honda's project engine and power unit are the best choices. This is because of their current dominance in the sport and the strong engine they have provided for Red Bull and AlphaTauri. Additionally, Alonso believes that with the new fuels and regulations, Honda will have all the necessary tools to succeed in the future. Overall, Alonso believes that Honda is well equipped to take on the challenges that lie ahead in the sport. In a recent interview, Fernando Alonso expressed his excitement about reuniting with Honda, despite the challenges he faced while working with them during his time at McLaren. Alonso is convinced that Honda is already off to a strong start, with getting to grips with the 2026 power unit regulations, which are set to boost the electrification aspect and introduce sustainable fuels. Alonso has a lot of respect for Honda as a company, not just for their success in Formula One, but also in the world of motorsport overall. He acknowledges that things didn't work out for them during his tenure at McLaren, but he believes that they have since fixed all the problems and are currently dominating the sport, having been world champions for the last few years. According to Alonso, Honda will have a baseline for 2026 that is already very strong, and they have the capacity in Sakura to build something really nice. He visited Sakura in 2014, 2015, and 2016 and knows that the team there is really motivated. Alonso is also excited about the sustainable fuels that will be introduced in 2026 and would love to experiment with them. He sees a win-win situation with Aramco as a great partner. He has a lot of respect for the Japanese culture and sees many links between his experiences in Japan and the upcoming opportunity to work again with Honda in 2026. For him, it is a true pleasure to be able to work with Honda again, especially after his experience with McLaren Honda and in IndyCar. Former F1 driver and 1996 world champion Damon Hill has expressed his concern that Carlos Sainz Jr. may not land a top-tier racing seat next season, which he regards as a travesty. Hill's comments come after Sainz has performed impressively in the 2024 F1 Championship, securing 3 podium finishes in 3 races and winning the Australian Grand Prix just 16 days after undergoing an appendectomy. Sainz is currently the only driver with a 100% podium record in the championship and is only 4 points behind Charles Leclerc in the drivers' standings, despite sitting out one race weekend. Sainz was dropped by Ferrari before the start of the season to make way for Lewis Hamilton, and since then, he has been competing for his current team, which Hill claims is run by the Verstappen family. The Spaniard has yet to secure a race seat for the 2025 season, which has left pundits and fans bewildered. F1's rumor mill suggests that Sainz has several options, including Red Bull, Mercedes, and Audi, which currently owns Sauber Team. However, Hill and Karan Chandak agree that it would be a shame if Sainz were to end up in a bottom-tier team. Hill believes that Sainz deserves to be in a top team given his exceptional performance this season, and it would be a disappointment if he were unable to secure a competitive racing seat in the upcoming season. Former Formula One world champion Damon Hill has said that Mercedes is the obvious choice for the Spaniard Carlos Sainz Jr. as he seeks a team to race for next season. However, Hill believes that Red Bull Racing, which is run by the Verstappen family, is not an option for Sainz, as Max Verstappen is the team's #1 driver. Hill thinks that Sainz could only join Red Bull if he is willing to be a wingman to Verstappen, which could be a difficult situation to manage given that Sergio Perez is currently doing an excellent job in that role. Despite Verstappen being linked with a move to Mercedes, Hill does not believe that the Dutchman will leave Red Bull, as the team currently has the fastest car on the grid. It is expected that Verstappen's only criterion for staying at Red Bull will be having a fast car. However, if Verstappen does move to Mercedes, Guido van der Garde, a former Formula One driver, thinks that Sainz will not be considered for the Red Bull team as it would cause too much fuss for the team to manage. As a result, Sainz's most probable destination is currently believed to be Steak Sauber Audi. Recent reports suggest that Fernando Alonso's decision to renew his contract with Aston Martin has limited the options for Carlos Sainz for the upcoming season. Alonso's multi-year deal with Aston Martin has effectively shut the doors on rumors of him moving to either Red Bull or Mercedes. This also means that Aston Martin is no longer a potential landing spot for Carlos Sainz, who was previously informed by Ferrari that they would not be extending his contract. With Mercedes and Red Bull both reportedly having already decided on their preferred candidates for their open seats, Andrea Kimi Antonelli and Sergio Perez respectively, Sainz is now left with only two realistic options, Sauber and Williams. F1 correspondent Lawrence Barretto has claimed that sources suggest Sainz's options are now limited to these two teams, unless Red Bull decides to reunite him with Max. In motorsport, success is measured by the number of wins and podiums a driver has secured throughout their career. But for Carlos Sainz, a former race winner in Formula One, his options for the 2025 season look limited. As the only driver outside of Red Bull to have won a race since 2022, it's surprising to see him struggling to secure a competitive seat for the upcoming season. Former F1 driver and commentator Karun Chandok feels sympathetic towards Sainz, given his limited options. It's quite unfortunate that he's now looking at joining a team in the lower half of the grid, if not at the very back. Suddenly you've got a race winner from the last 2 seasons who is potentially looking at one of the sort of bottom 5 teams for his future, said Chandok. I think it's a bit of a shame. Martin Brundle, another F1 commentator, agrees with Chandok's assessment. He believes that Sainz is unlikely to secure a leading race seat with Antonelli and Perez already penciled in at Mercedes and Red Bull, respectively. I think Mercedes, if Antonelli is ready, they'll try and put Antonelli in Lewis Hamilton's seat, said Brundle. So will Perez kick the Red Bull seat? That's the key, that's the cork in the bottle. The problem for Team Sainz is that Sauber, now known as Audi, is putting him under pressure to do a long-term deal. This means that he will then be at Sauber next year treading water and then hanging all of his chances on how quickly Audi can get their team and their power unit together and become competitive. And that's no small task.